Welcome back to BTWNTWOWOR.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, this is going to be an interesting
Just switch
podcast.
it up a little bit.
We're actually going to be talking a lot about topical topics.
Honestly, like, we're so official today. This is like the first time we have, notes printed out. Like, it's so official because we're talking about the whole Kanye situation, anti-Semitism, which is obviously something that affects us a lot. And I think we both like want to try at least to not get I guess clouded by our emotions, and be able to like cohesively explain our thoughts and try to be as logical as possible. I think that's the goal here. So like, it's hard when
it's okay though to speak from passion and emotion.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Just also, I mean, I personally want to make sure that like I'm coming from a place of integrity and logic, which I think is lacking a lot in a lot of the people that are reacting to this.
Yeah, and there's a lot to say as well. So.
Yeah. So let's get into it. Mm-hmm. First of all, I want to make a disclaimer that we're not experts. I'm not an expert. Maybe Chaya is. I tried to do as much like research as possible, but I still encourage anybody who's listening to this to do their own research, come up with their own opinions. And I mean, if you're pro Kanye, then I mean,
yeah, whatever. We would take you to task for that. I would definitely want to talk to you or debate.
Understand your side, point of view. Yeah, because that's wild. People who are pro Kanye, such as Candance Owen, such as a lot of people on the right, Tucker Carlson.
It's not so much pro Kanye, but it's you want to be able to understand his anti-Semitic claims or try to like push them under the rug because there are certain things that Kanye are saying, maybe political wise, or maybe just like his music. So you're sweeping the other things he said. It's like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And listen, it's an important. I think I wanted to start off before even getting into like the whole what Kanye said, and we're going to get into everything. I want to discuss why we're discussing this topic, because over the weekend I spoke with a few people, family members, and they were like, why are you even giving this thought or a platform or anything like that, you know? And for me, it's like, Kanye, we're not giving Kanye a platform, especially us, but even big people out there, even like the news, like Kanye is huge and he has a huge following. So him sharing these things, the damage is done. People think he's a genius. People think he's a, what is it called? Future thinker? What is it called? Like timeless, I guess. Like he thinks ahead of time and he's like a genius in everything that he says. People idolize him. So when he says something, I think it's really important, especially that time, for people to speak out and challenge him on it. And if you can get him on your platform to speak to him about it, not because we're trying to legitimize what he says, but because you need to challenge it.
Absolutely. Very well said. Yeah. And I think it's almost like if you do have a platform and these ideas that he's spouting are so dangerous and could be so detrimental, especially the kinds of anti-Semitic tropes that Kanye has been promulgating in these past couple tweets and days, I think you almost have a responsibility to speak out and not do it from hate or do it from a place of trying to, tear down Kanye as a person. But it's so important to outline why the things Kanye is saying is so dangerous, since this I see so clearly can lead to hateful things and violence against Jews, literally like in the streets. So I think especially people who are Jewish in the media and haven't taken up that responsibility of speaking out and at least trying to outline why some of the things Kanye is saying is so dangerous because of the conspiratorial nature of them, I think you're not owing up to your responsibility.
Yeah, like he's not just a random, someone said like, oh, if a random homeless person came up to you in the street and said like, Jews are running the media, would you care? He's not just a random homeless person. He has a lot of influence. Yeah, maybe he has mental issues. A lot of people have mental issues, and it doesn't give any excuse for this. So yeah, that's what I wanted to say, why we're discussing. The goal of this, I think, is just to like stand up for what you think is the truth and challenge another person who has a lot of influence to challenge their ideas. I think it's important. Okay, so I think we both watched like the multiple interviews with Piers Morgan. He had an interview with Lex Friedman, which I think was so good. Like Lex is just amazing. He did one with Tucker Carlson. He did a lot. He did that one podcast that I think started it all. where he was just like saying all these crazy things. So these are like kind of the few points that he said that I think are really significant. First of all, before he even went on anything, he wore the White Lives Matter shirt, which kind of started this whole like got the ball rolling on this whole situation. I don't know. My initial reaction to that was like kind of tacky. Like, you're a Black person. Imagine like we're trying to fight like, I don't know, the whole Israel-Palestinian conflict, and we think that, you know, Israelites are treated badly, and then I'm like, actually, that's not what happens, and like Palestinians are, I don't know. Like, imagine like I just took that side when there's clearly like an issue. It kind of seems like a little cheesy. It
seems very just controversial for the point of being controversial. It doesn't seem
that's
like
a good way to put
there's
it.
any real life like understanding or compassion or care towards this issue, and you're just poking the people who you know would get so annoyed at this and respond back in hate.
It's one thing if he like stood up and said like, I've done my research and Black Lives Matter is a fraudulent like company and they don't use their money to go to right stuff. Okay, I think that would be very admirable for him to stand up to that, because that's a hard thing to stand up to, especially when you're Black. But to wear a White Lives Matter t-shirt and like, I don't know, to me it's like, okay, there's clearly Black Lives Matter came about, but like was like really like,
yeah, there's clearly a boiling point of like that's causing such a like problem, or there's clearly an issue underlying this whole thing, and whether or not you think Black Lives Matter is dealing with that the right way, or whether or not you think they're a fraudulent, I don't know, company in and of itself. I don't know if company is the right word for it. Whatever. Movement. The point is, this is not a good response to it.
It's like not like educated. It's not like, oh, I'm going to educate you on what's going on. It's like, let me get a reaction out of you.
Sure.
So like, that's where I was like, okay, that's like, and Candance Owen also like, I don't know. The second thing he said, which is like, I think so important, is that he said he's pro-life. And I think that's so important because
he said this, to clarify, in an interview with Tucker Carlson that aired about 3 days from the White Lives Matter thing, which happened at a Yeezy Paris fashion show, which Candance attended and wore the White Lives Matter shirt with.
So he talks about how he's pro-life and how, 50% of Black murders are happening at Planned Parenthood, whatever. I think that's really important because no matter, like, personally, I don't know if I haven't made a conclusive statement on pro-life abortion. It's a very tricky argument. So I'm not saying that he's wrong for being pro-life. A lot of people are pro-life. The problem, what that does is it automatically puts people on the right, puts him on the right, and puts the left against him. And I think it changed everything that he said that. I really think that if he said these anti-Semitic stuff without saying that he's pro-life, without saying that he's, I'm gonna wait for the noise to settle. Hey, trying a new setup. It's fine. Why?
I don't think it is. Is it? Okay.
Sorry, did I interrupt?
No, you're fine. We'll just edit it out.
Yeah. Thanks.
Let me see if you still see that. Yeah, that's a lot better. Yeah, the other one was not seeing.
Okay. Thanks.
Thanks so much.
Our producer.
I love how supportive you are.
Yeah.
It's good.
You do have the reflection of this light.
Yeah, I know.
I know, but what are we gonna do? Does it look awful?
No, just a spot, honestly.
It's fine. Yeah, we noticed it.
It's pretty cool. It's cool you guys like change positions.
Yeah, I don't know. We have to figure out what we like the best.
Yeah, I think it's a lot better. All right, sorry.
Okay. Thank you.
Glad.
What was I saying?
We're like Pasha in middle of your house. I'm sorry.
I know. Yeah, I think that if he didn't bring up the whole idea that he's pro-life beforehand, I think that would have made a huge difference. The left probably wouldn't have been this passionate about saying that he's anti-Semitic, and the right would have called him out instantly, like for sure. I mean, I don't know for sure.
I'm a little bit more
whatever.
cynical, and I actually don't agree with this point. But
okay, so say what you think. Why?
Did you finish what you wanted to say though?
Well, I just think that like the left has always been anti-Semitic in Hollywood. They just always spew this point of like Israel is bad and these type of anti-Semitic tropes. But now that Kanye said that he's pro-life, it kind of puts him on the right side, and so they have to find something to like shame him about.
Yeah.
I don't think any party is innocent in this. Like that's I
agree with that point. I don't agree. I think no matter what kind of awful anti-Semitic things that Kanye would have said, specifically in the Tucker Carlson interview, they would have aired it because he did say anti-Semitic things, deeply problematic things in that interview, and they edited those things out. He said things like,
yeah, but because he wore, don't you think that has to do with the fact that he wore that White Lives Matter shirt?
No. I'm talking about why Tucker Carlson like aired that interview and even raised Kanye up as a spokesperson for at least even these issues, and that he has something to say and that he's not crazy, because it is crazy. A lot of things he said in that interview was crazy. And so I find it very disingenuous of Tucker Carlson to say those things when if he would have aired the actual whole interview, then there was so much to discredit Kanye for. But you can't do that if Kanye isn't unedited, right? If he's just himself in the public sphere, then he himself will discredit himself because he says crazy things like these anti-Semitic things. But he can't because he's saying so many things that the right want to align with. So
that's exactly my point.
Yes. So they edit.
So you're agreeing with me.
No. But what I'm saying is, I don't even think that it's the pro-abortion, the pro-life thing.
It's part of it,
said.
but yeah, it's also the whole George Floyd thing that he said. It's also the whole White Lives Matter thing.
It's the fact that he's pro-Trump. It's a huge thing that he's pro-Trump, that he says Trump is his friend, and that he, how he hates the leftist media when he decides to say only leftist and not Jewish leftist media. But I think that, that's what I think. Right.
So you're saying that it precedes even this pro-life thing. It's like the fact that he's pro-Trump, the fact that he's saying these right takes. He's on the right side of the aisle. He's saying that George Floyd died, which we'll get to, like only because of fentanyl and all these things that, the right does. Candance Owen, who's under the Daily Wire, Ben Shapiro, one of the biggest right-wing people out there. So like they can't be on. It's crazy that they can't be honest. It's actually
can't be honest with this.
Wild that these adults can't like sit and like be honest and be like, okay, we have somebody who's part of our party, so to speak.
I find it
that's just, like,
not only
disgusting.
problematic, I find it so deeply disheartening and upsetting, because there are people who I think are really, really not holding up their responsibility, especially someone like Ben Shapiro, who I have followed for a very long time and I've been a huge fan of. And he's the one who actually, I don't credit all of it with, but led me into really gaining skills in critical thinking. I attribute him a lot with that. But the fact is, there's so much here to speak against. There's so much here to talk about with the anti-Semitic things that Kanye is seriously just spewing. And the fact that Candance Owens in her video, I don't know if you want to pull it up.
Yeah, we could play it.
Yeah.
You want to play it?
Yeah, let's play it.
We're going to play it. So we'll play what Candance Owen said about it. There's a few more things I want to say that Kanye said, but we can go back to that.
Yeah. And the thing is, Ben Shapiro is nowhere right now on this issue, which is absolutely insane.
Silence. Literally silence.
He posted one video of a Daily Wire
too.
Yeah, like backstage membership type of thing. So you have to really dig to find this clip. And I found it on a leftist reaction
I was
website.
like, where did he post it?
He's nowhere on this issue, which is absolutely insane. Ben, you are like the Jewish spokesperson in media right now. We all look towards you for your opinions. Why are you not speaking out?
So weird. It's so crazy to me.
Why are you not all over this issue?
Like, I'm not surprised, honestly. I'm really not surprised. I'm so surprised upset. In the sense where, like, I wish, like, there would have been better faith in humanity to just, like, be honest. But at the same time, it's like, I'm not surprised because Ben for so long has gone so extreme. And for so long, I haven't, liked his just takes. He's very double standard. And we'll talk about what he says in the video, and I'm going to show you how hypocritical it is. But this is Candance Owens.
This is what Candance Owens had to say after Kanye posted a tweet on October 9th saying, DEFCON 3, I'm going to do DEFCON 3 on all the Jews.
He said, I'm really tired. I haven't got a lot of sleep, but I'm going to do, tomorrow morning, I'm going DEFCON 3 on the Jews. And
he said that.
And he's like, and black are Jew.
Yeah, he said that. And this is not anti-Semitic because Black people
like
are actually Jew
It's
also.
like literally me saying like, I'm not racist because I'm Black. Like, okay. If I just self-proclaim myself as Black, I'm not Black.
Okay, go ahead and play the video.
Okay.
I'm a bit sleepy tonight, but when I wake up, I'm going DEFCON 3 on Jewish people. The funny thing is I actually can't be anti-Semitic because Black people are actually Jew also. You guys have toyed with me and tried to blackball anyone who opposes your agenda. That was the tweet. And people subsequently demanded that the tweet be taken down for anti-Semitism. Now, if you are an honest person, you did not think this tweet was anti-Semitic. You did not think that he wrote this tweet because he hates or wants to genocide Jewish people. This does not represent the beginning of the Holocaust. That's if you're an honest person, you'll admit that. You will admit that, right? If you're an honest person, when you read this tweet, you had no idea what the hell he was talking about. I had no idea when I read this tweet what the hell he was talking about. This tweet inspired questions, not answers. First and foremost,
Go ahead. What do you have to say about that? I want to continue playing it because she says things that are, I think, even
I
more
have no idea
problematic
what the hell he's talking about.
Okay. Let's just stick to what you said.
Also, like, even if you were really that confused about what's going on, like, so many things came up after this video and silence from her. She doesn't retract her statement or say that she was wrong. So, like, sorry, I don't believe you.
Yeah.
It's already like this is already like a week and a half ago that she said this. So, like, there's so much else that came out.
Yeah. When I first watched that, I was kind of shocked at the angle that she was taking, but I guess I shouldn't be because Candance Owens, this is the kind of like rhetoric she uses. But to completely gaslight and call the people who are reacting in actually the like correct fashion liars and say that we're reacting in a crazy and not honest people by like seeing the absolute horrific anti-Semitic things that Kanye is saying and then like responding properly is so wild. I
do have to say that when that tweet came out, I was also confused. And I wasn't really like, oh, Kanye West is like anti-Semitic and what's going on. I was also confused. I was like, what is happening?
Yeah.
But I was like, okay, this is probably, but then he went on to like 5 interviews saying how there's a Jewish media controlling everything. And she has nothing to say back to it. So like in retrospect, I think in the moment, I guess you could be confused. The problem is she doesn't really give a voice to the other side being like, I see how this could be bad. She doesn't give that. So that's where I think this is so extreme. But she doesn't either a week later say, wow, I was wrong. He really is anti-Semitic.
No.
You know? It's like
No, because her
wild.
clear bias is her wanting to
She's
back
literally
Kanye.
controlled by her bias. It's crazy.
If you play it, you'll hear her start saying, here, play the rest of it.
Foremost, what is DEFCON 3? Did he mean DEFCON 3, which would be a military defense position, not an offense? For those of you that are offended, a military defense position. Is he tweeting this because he's reading?
This was wild to me. This was like, her like trying to like
explain
the crazy
he's just saying that
it's maybe actually he's trying to protect the Jews. Like, dude, okay, you're obviously trying to run circles around something that you are obviously the one who's being disingenuous and dishonest here.
And listen,
Candace,
if she was really that confused and she thought that Kanye was defending the Jews, well, let's give her that credence, maybe. Mm-hmm. Still, a week later, 5 interviews spewing all these hateful things.
Or
retract your statement.
Or in that segment where you're literally just trying to be a side piece for Kanye to try to,
Yeah, it's so clear.
If you're that confused and you're really trying to understand what he said, then why didn't you do the phone call? Aren't you such good friends with him? Why didn't you call up and say, what's going on here? I think you're afraid.
Yeah,
I think you're afraid of the actual crazy anti-Semitic beliefs that he has. And you're afraid of actually calling him out because I don't know why. Why are you? Maybe it's because Kanye is a spokesperson for the right now with opinions that you agree. Maybe he's your friend. Maybe there's so much power involved with the position you have as being friends with Kanye. But the fact that you're not even actually doing the de-confusing that you're claiming to be in this clip is so evident that the one who's being disingenuous and dishonest is you.
I searched up what DEFCON 3 meaning, and it says, and it's DEFCON 3, which means armed forces ready to deploy and engage in less than 6 hours, which is basically just like getting your arms up, getting your like ammunition.
He's basically ready to attack.
Exactly. That's literally what it means. And she like completely is like, well, he's defending
calling us liars for reacting in a way that's so appropriate to this. How disappointing. How honestly disappointing from Candance Owens coming from a company that is run by a Orthodox Jew who did the most mealy-mouthed, like, wag of his finger at Candace. It's really just kind of infuriating.
It's wild because if she was on someone from the left, if Kanye was on the left, Ben would be at it in a second. You know, he would call it out for sure in a second. His response was basically like, I understand Candace defending her friend, but I disagree with what she says. Yeah. So he did say that he disagrees with what she says. So I guess we can give him credit for that. But then he's like, but we have to take into account that Kanye West is bipolar and he has mental issues, and I'm not going to take him seriously as I do, you know, other things, which is so hypocritical because he literally talks about Biden's decisions all the time. And literally Biden has like mental issues, senile, all these things. And he talks about them all the time. I mean, he talks about that all the time, but he does it from a point of criticism and also criticizes, like, you know what I'm saying? So I just think it's like a hypocritical thing. I don't know. What do you think on that?
Yeah, I definitely outlined already what I thought about Ben Shapiro and his failed responsibility at this point, and the fact that he's not really anywhere right now to be seen on this issue, which is...
But even just his response, like what? What was your initial like reaction to that?
His response to me was coming from a place of somebody who didn't want to really cause the drama that I think he should have caused. He was coming from a place where I think he was almost trying to be like not step as harshly as he should have. And I think it's kind of sad because you can have disagreements with Candace, but we all know who Ben Shapiro is, and we all know how strong of an opinion he usually has on things and how strong of a person he usually is. And the fact that he wasn't willing to do this on an issue that I think is so important and something that he should already be so fired up about is very telling. Especially,
it's not like he's like this like chill guy who doesn't really call people. He says when he thinks something's wrong, and not all the time it's something I agree with or not, but whenever it comes to anti-Semitism, he always calls it out. So it's pretty wild that now it's like literal silence from him. Like, he's talking about Biden. Like, who wants to listen to him when he's talking about Biden? I don't know, random stuff, like reacting to transgender people. Like, can we talk about Kanye for a second?
Yeah,
like,
by the way, not even like through Candace, right? Like, why isn't he talking about the anti-Semitism that Kanye's spewing right now? This is one of the main things in the news. I'm so confused. Where is he?
It's so crazy.
It's so
obvious. It's not even that confusing. It's so obvious that Kanye is a right-wing person, and Ben is so hypocritical from all the times he talks about how, you know, the left just likes in their echo chamber. Ben is in his echo chamber. He's in his echo chamber together with Candance Owen.
You know, and the thing is,
Brett Cooper.
Like, Ben, I get it. If this is a company thing and you want to be able to have dissenting opinions and you don't want people to get fired because you don't agree with their opinions, fine. Although I would also argue that maybe this isn't really an opinion, but something that's far more important than just a difference of opinion when it comes to especially such anti-Semitic tropes that lead to literal knife attacks and punchings and killings of Jews in the street.
I mean, history. Like, I'm sorry, but this sounds like Hitler all over again. It really does.
Okay,
I don't like to be dramatic.
Yeah,
sometimes I do, but like, this is history. I'm not saying that we're getting to that point, and thank God we have a lot of people standing up against it. So I'm not saying like we're doomsday.
And by the way, a lot of people on the left, okay, for all the problems with the left, a lot of people on the left have been strongly standing up against this, and the right has been largely silent.
If you're watching this.
If you're watching this, sorry for the change of scenery.
We had some...
It's a little crazy.
We don't go a podcast without having technical difficulties. Yeah. But that's just the life of, you know, two...
non-professional expert.
No, I was going to say like two like really busy women.
Okay.
Which is like a lot on their minds, you know?
That. Yeah. Yeah. What's your next point of discussion on this whole topic? Okay,
well, I wanted to discuss the whole thing about Hollywood and in the past, how like, well, we were discussing how like the right is like very see-through, right? Like they're really like showing their true colors here because they can't condemn Kanye because obviously he's like this like right-wing spokesperson, and so that would like breaking the way, which is so crazy. Like, I know we like touch on this a lot already, but just like, it's so crazy to me, like, because we learned this in psychology, like how people are just, and I say this all the time, but people are so predictable, right? When you make a biasy, when you think of this piece of information about something, when you conclude to something either on your own or because your parents told you or because whatever it is, it's very hard to change that. And you start viewing your world like that. You just do. Like, humans are like that. So they won't surround themselves with pieces of information that contradict what they think. And it's so crazy that we're literally seeing it in real time. But you would think that smart people or integral people or honest people or people who have high value would not be that predictable and like go beyond that like animal instinct, because it really is an animal instinct to like not want to be wrong, but like be beyond that. Like, please, we expect more. I don't know, especially people who claim that they're so smart, you know, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, it just goes to show that everyone, no one is infallible, and everybody acquiesces to their biases, even the ones that they're not conscious of. And so you can never hold up this opinion of yourself that everything you think is right, and you can never think that somebody else, you can never blindly let yourself be led by somebody else as well, which is like something in our culture. We have all these like celebrities or politicians that we abide by, and everything they say, we're like compelled, if we love them, we're compelled to like to defend them or excuse them. And it's not like that. Humans are imperfect, and we have to acknowledge that and accept that and see that in ourselves. And if you do that, I think that you obviously have this levity, and you obviously have this you come to a circumstance with less of a certainty, and therefore more openness to think that, yeah, somebody else could be right here and I could be wrong.
And that doesn't mean to not like passionately talk about what you believe in, and it doesn't mean to like state what you believe in, but it does mean to be a little bit valuable, and I didn't mean valuable, I meant malleable, and not be, like Joe Rogan says, married to your ideas. You're not, like, you have an idea, maybe you think it was right at the time, but you're growing as a person, you're hearing other people's point of view that might be smarter than you, and it's okay to change your opinion. That doesn't make you
totally. And I do want to address this though, because Kanye, it's important to differentiate. Let's say what Kanye would say in his podcast. He said, he's always constantly spewing bad ideas and then contradicting himself and then apologizing, which I think is in line with the kind of person he is, who doesn't really think about what he says and kind of says what he feels. So in that same podcast of him really saying a ton of, I'm forgetting the name, but we'll show a clip of something, or it was with a couple hosts, and he was, saying a lot of anti-Semitic things in there. Rudy Israel did a video responding to a lot of specific points that Kanye was making, which is amazing. I think you guys should all check his video out. But in that same, podcast, Kanye would make points saying, oh, I should have the ability to be wrong and to make mistakes. And if I need to be corrected, then I need to be corrected. Mm-hmm. No, Kanye, you have to acknowledge the immense responsibility and power your words hold. And if you don't do that, and you kind of approach life with this, I'm going to say whatever the hell I want. I'm going to say this because I'm hurt and I'm in pain, and I want to really put this massive group of people in pain also. He blames everything on the Jews. Then you don't get to also be like, oh, and I should be able to make mistakes. No, you don't. I'm sorry, you don't get to
I think that's an interesting point. Like, do you think that he should be canceled for? Don't make mine lower. It's so loud. Oh, okay, fine. Do you think he should be canceled and like taken off the platforms? What do you stand on that? Or I guess, where do you stand?
No, I don't know. It's such a hard one. It's such a hard one. I think it's important, because I think what ultimately needs to happen is this kind of discussion of like...
Exactly. And I think the fact that people are interviewing him and challenging him on ideas, that's, I think, the perfect scenario.
But at the same time, there are real life anti-Semitic actions happening because people are hearing what Kanye has said and being emboldened in their anti-Semitic beliefs.
But if he's canceled, they're even more emboldened. Is that a word? Emboldened?
It is a word.
Okay. I think they're even more if he's canceled, because it's like, oh, they're trying to silence him, blah, blah, blah. Instead, if you have people like Lex Fridman, who's extremely smart, if you see all the comments on Lex Fridman's YouTube, obviously people are checking him out, are probably his fans, but some are probably maybe Kanye's fans. All of them are saying how like amazing of a job Lex did to just like open up that conversation. And clearly Lex was the more intelligent one in that conversation.
Totally.
Clearly he put Kanye in this light where like, you are delusional in the things that you're saying.
Yeah.
Clearly what you're saying is wrong. So
I think that there are different responses, and all those responses are necessary, and they all have good points to it. Like the response to want to cancel a lot of times is because you're reacting in a way of fear of the possible dangers that ensue from somebody's hateful comments.
Right.
Right. And there's points to that. The response to be compassionate and to debate is also a very important point, especially in a culture that's more leaning towards cancel culture. It's also there's a lot of positivity, maybe even more positivity that comes out from someone like Lex Fridman or Piers Morgan even, or anybody interviewing. But at the same time, I really want to highlight how dangerous what Kanye is doing is. And he doesn't understand that. He doesn't understand that. Like I was sitting in the subway, Rivka, I was sitting here's me understanding that.
Tell me,
I was sitting in the subway, and this is something that this never really happens to me. I don't usually think of like the possible dangerous scenarios that I put myself in just by going in the subway. All of a sudden, I was keenly aware of how my Judaism was so obvious to everybody else on that subway. And if somebody who is an anti-Semite, which I have no idea who has those kind of beliefs around me, would see that, they could act in a hateful way towards me. And I was very aware of something like that could actually happen to me. Right. And I was scared. And I think that, and I was scared because I was specifically listening to what Kanye was saying about Jews.
Right.
And I think that if you're not smart enough to debunk the conspiracies that promulgate the anti-Semitic tropes that we hear all the time, then you're going to look at someone like me and just view me through that prism.
Right.
View me as this rich, I don't know, Jap.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's so crazy. Some of the things he said that I wrote down, he said that Jewish people have been born into money through lawyers. Like, no, we actually came to America after the Holocaust, pretty much struggling, building up from the bottom, and everything that we built is legit. And that doesn't mean that there's Jewish people out there that are bad. Like, it has nothing to do, just like there's Hispanic and Latino and I don't know, any type of person out there, Russian, I don't know, every type of person, every race, every ethnicity, there are some that are bad because it has nothing to do with your ethnicity. Just because you're Jewish doesn't mean that you are bad now or that you're corrupt and that you were born into money. No, you're actually not. So,
yes, I agree. And I think like the message that I want to put out to Kanye is, I want to invite you for a Shabbos meal. Like I want you to actually come to a proper Shabbos meal and sit amongst Jews who are religious of all different types of religion. It doesn't have to only be Orthodox, but actually immerse yourself in this culture, in our actual culture, and not the tropes that you believe about us. And then maybe the jealousy that you feel towards us because of our values, because of our family, because of the success we have. Maybe then you'll truly understand why those things are important to us or why we have success, instead of thinking, I want my kids to learn about Hanukkah because it'll make them more financially engineered. Like they'll have, because I think what Rudy Israel said, he looks at the gelt and he thinks it's some sort of like finance.
He says something like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is obviously wrong. But if you actually immersed yourself in Jewish culture and learned about what Hanukkah was about, what we are about, then I think the jealousy you feel towards us would obviously be dissipated. So if you're actually interested in Jewish people, which it sounds like you are, it sounds like Kanye does respect Jews. And he said this before. He respects our culture. He's jealous of a lot of things about us. Then
I don't know if he
about
respects, but
he has said, I respect the Jews. I respect the fact that they have all these values and things like that.
I mean, but clearly he doesn't actually respect the Jews.
It's a very twisted, it's so in line with
like
anti-Semitism.
He puts in a pedestal. So
it's an obsession.
Right.
He has an obsession with us. And
so as Hitler did, sorry. Not to be dramatic again, but it's true. Like, you're going to go and say, like, I'm going to let Hitler's example, like, I'm going to erase an entire ethnicity or race of people. Like, and that's exactly what he's doing. He's taking this one race of people and saying that they're bad and not looking at the individuals. And by the way, I think that like this has taught me a lot to just not look at people in a very general way. I think it has. What? Why are you making that face?
Because I'm very happy.
You mean
That's
like
what it. No, like a disbelieving face.
Like,
no, not at all. I made that face because it's something that I've like. Oh, I always try to do.
Yeah,
like the individual to me is sovereign. Has always been.
And I think like
that's why I don't like
what.
That's why a lot of times I am more critical of the community that we come from.
I was just going to say that. Like,
sovereign.
I think people from our community could probably, because probably everyone in this community is upset about it, but like I think they can probably learn to not, if any time you're going to say like, this is what my sister said, I thought it was very just well put. If you're ever going to say that this group of people is one trait, you assign a trait to an entire group of people, you're probably wrong, and you're probably being a little not so smart. So I think that's something that we could probably learn from all this, just a silver lining, you know, if we can. And I don't think we're in doomsday, and I don't think something crazy can happen, because thank God we do live in a country that like people can't speak up their minds. And that's why I say it's so important not to cancel, not because I want Kanye to say these things or even for him to have a platform. I want him to like just get off of everything. But I also think it's super important to like for people to have the conversation, so that people are not just, because then the people who are, you know, Andrew Tate got banned and he didn't go anywhere. Like people are still, what is it called? Like worshiping him. I don't think there was enough people debating Andrew Tate on what he was saying. Logan Paul said how like he didn't want to give Andrew Tate a platform. Why am I giving him a platform? I don't think that's a good move. I think he should have had Andrew Tate on and really, really argued with him.
Yeah.
And bring up good points, because there's a lot of people who look up to Logan Paul. And they could have been like, wow, okay, Andrew Tate. You know what I'm saying? Like when you look up to one person and they challenge another person, then you can also challenge that person and not just be like, I'm a Kanye fan. Oh my God. And now he got banned from everything.
I agree with you. And at the same time, as I was watching Kanye just spew absolute anti-Semitic tropes and conspiracies and promulgate these hateful things that can turn into things against Jews, like genocide against Jews, I was sitting there like vomit bubbling up in my stomach, because in my throat, because it's scary. It's scary that he's allowed to say these things, but I acknowledge that he should. It's the better option is to debate. Yeah. But at the same time, I hope to dear God that nothing happens. Me too. Even though something already has. Have you seen that on the news? No. Those people, they hanging posters over the side of a bridge. I think it was in New York. You know, saying Kanye was right about the Jews. And,
wow.
And
wow, that's crazy. I mean, I don't think. Listen, I'm more of like an optimist in that way, where like I'm living my life now and I'm affected emotionally by it, but nothing physical has happened in my experience day to day. So for me, until that happens, I can be like, oh my gosh, this is the effect. But if it doesn't happen, then it's like, okay, good. We stood up against him and like, let's move on with our lives. I don't think I just don't think these things
are disconnected. I think Kanye thinks they're disconnected, but I don't think he thinks in a practical way at all. I mean, the guy thinks he's God. The guy thinks God speaks to him.
Right.
And there's definitely a point to be made about Kanye's mental illness here. I don't think it's a way to dismiss the comments he's making, which I think a lot of people on the right are doing, and saying, oh, you know, like he's just mentally ill. Don't listen to what he's saying. Everything he's saying is BS, which is like fine if you want to make that point, but also say that about the things that he's saying that you agree with, right? Which they're not. They're only saying it about these type of things. But no, there's still a danger in somebody who is mentally ill going and spreading bad ideas. So all our arguments that we're having here is, I think, as valid if it was somebody who was completely sane.
Yeah, I don't think that's. I mean, like at the end of the day, somebody who's crazy sometimes can even have a bigger effect, because people interpret that crazy into genius. That's one thing. Secondly, they act more rash. I don't think Hitler was sane in any way, but yet to talk about how Hitler was crazy literally just has nothing to do with the fact that he killed a bunch of people. Nobody's going to sit around being like, yeah, but Hitler was crazy. So no, like he was crazy. And so that's why he was able to do all these things with
there's a debate around whether or not Hitler was actually insane.
No,
you know,
I think there's the
especially with
debate. I think there's a debate whether the Nazis were insane. I think whether Hitler was insane.
There's a debate surrounding it.
Okay.
But I mostly want to listen to what people have to say about that. I think Brett Weinstein talks a lot about that. There's a whole episode in Joe Rogan where he talks about that, and it's very controversial, obviously, because people don't want to think as Hitler as a sane man, but I kind of do.
No,
because
that's getting emotional about it.
No, because I think people dismiss a Hitler because of the fact that he is insane, and so I don't want to do that same thing. And I also think that you can reach the levels of Hitler's mind when you're completely sane. And you
I don't think so.
And you should be. I think every Nazi is an example of that.
Nazi's different. Nazi is way different than Hitler. It's very different. Nazis were carrying out something, and they were part of a herd mentality. A bunch of people were doing it at once. Yes, they all could have been very normal people justifying their actions. Hitler was running this whole thing. His ideas. He thought he was doing like the most noble thing. I don't think that a sane person could get there. I get Brett Weinstein. I listened to that episode. I get him saying,
it's very interesting.
I do understand him saying that like people shouldn't talk about it because it's not an excuse, and it makes us be like, oh, well, Hitler was crazy. Like, we don't want to give him an excuse. And that's exactly my point. Don't use Kanye's bipolar as an excuse. But I think that's coming more from an emotional place to not want to excuse him. That doesn't mean that Hitler wasn't insane.
I mean, I think he made it was a clear argument for Hitler's actual non-insanity. Like, it wasn't an emotional argument to do that. It was like he was actually saying that Hitler wasn't insane. That was a controversial statement that he was making.
I guess I have to listen back to the episode. I guess back then when I listened to it, it sounded like he was just like, let's not talk about that. Because
in any case, I think I agree with you about not using insanity / sanity to like dismiss things.
Dismiss the gravity of things. Yeah.
Especially surrounding this.
Yeah. And I did want to discuss also, Andrew Schulz's takes on all these, just to like praise him because I love him. But also before that, I want to discuss
of Andrew Schulz.
The whole left situation, because at the end of the day, like the left is taking like this stance of like condemning Kanye and all that stuff. But growing up our entire lives, the left was anti-Semitic. Hollywood is anti-Semitic. Right and left, you're watching movies and you're like, oh yeah, he's anti-Semitic, and it just like ruins the entire experience for you, you know? So that's something that we definitely grew up on. And initially, I just wanted to talk about that. And then this whole, it's crazy. Like that, and I think the only thing that came out of Kanye was his tweet. And so I was like, okay, let's talk about his tweet and let's lean into the whole thing about Hollywood. And then literally all these things came out. I'm like, okay, we're going to mainly talk about Kanye. But like, I do want to give that. We're like, okay, the left is not so good. Come another Palestinian-Israeli conflict.
Right.
Against the Jews.
I do want to clarify, though, my opinion on the left is obviously not that everyone on the left is anti-Semitic. I think that there are deeply anti-Semitic people on the left who use anti-Zionism or anti-Israel as a cover-up for the real anti-Semitism that they have. People like Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, you know, even Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has said a lot of problematic things about the Jews. I just think that if they're, you know, whenever there came to a problem about anti-Semitism in politics, the left usually was a lot more of a threat. And when we're talking about neo-Nazis and the hardcore right, which is as much posing a danger to Jewish lives, that was a lot more of a smaller posed a smaller problem, just in numbers,
because it was not so mainstream. It was like we all knew, like, okay, they're crazy.
It wasn't covered up in the same way that it is on the left. So no matter what party there is anti-Semitism, and it's important to be aware of that. But we're not I don't think we're being like I don't think we're giving the left too much.
Yeah, I just wanted to like point that out because I think it's very hypocritical that clearly they're also being biased on things because I think if Kanye wasn't like wasn't so right wing, I don't think we'd be seeing the same reaction. I don't. So just like be aware, like don't always like, you know, I don't know. I think everyone should just be like their own thinkers, and everyone should just let loose a little bit and say what they think and be able to admit if they're wrong on things. Like, I think everyone should live that life. just as, you know, Andrew Schulz, if you're watching this, you are literally so cool. I love you.
I do agree with Rivka, but at the same time,
I didn't want to talk about the George Floyd thing, but yeah, we'll talk about that.
I'm much more aware of the gravity of what your belief and what your judgment and what your ideologies could have. And I think that it's important to listen and think before you talk. And of course, you should always course correct, and nobody's perfect. But at the same time, know your words have gravity, and know that when you're in the sphere of debate, of discussion, you're not going to be correct. Like most of the time, come to the debate thinking that there's a lot more for me to hear. There's a lot for me to listen to than for me to give. And I think if you do that, you don't take your opinions as like the ultimate truth. And I also think it makes you aware of how much you have to research and how much your opinions are not sometimes fully formed in the way that they should be.
Which is fine, as long as you take accountability for that. I think it's really fine to just like have like a chill discussion at your job's table or at any like family dinner. I don't think you always have to be like the most well-researched person, but like to form an opinion. But know that you.
But I'm saying I don't want Kanye to apply such an ideology to himself or a belief to himself, because that's what makes him. You should be chill, but that's what also makes him think, okay, let me just go ahead and say all these things. You have to be aware.
No, but my point of view is like you can form an opinion without being first of all, Kanye's things are judgments; they're not opinions, so that's very different. I'm talking about like an opinion on a matter, you know. But at the same time, my point of view is also like you have to also, if you're gonna be very chill and not research, then you have to like admit you're wrong. If you want to like literally say your opinion and not be wrong, then you have to do days of research and like literally read every single article on that topic. But if you just want to be like have a good discussion, don't
ever aim for not wrong, because I don't think that's
I know
right. I don't think that's the right frame.
But I also don't think like you have to be like so like as long as you're like, okay, I was wrong in this situation, as long as you could come to that point really easily, then I think like you should just like then I think you're at a really good point in like discussing things. That's my point. But yeah, I did want to discuss the whole George Floyd thing, because I think that's also a really important part of it, where he discusses how George Floyd died from fentanyl and not being like suffocated by a police who was on his back for 8 minutes. And
Kanye went
that was
on Piers Morgan.
I mean, that was also the whole Candance Owens documentary, which he like supported. But yeah.
Oh, okay, fine.
But yeah, the Piers Morgan thing. What?
Yeah. No, I just wanted to explain where he said that. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if he said it in the I didn't watch the documentary. So he said it in.
I don't know if he made that claim in, or Piers Morgan brought it up. There was a topic of whether or not, George Floyd died from fentanyl overdose. And then I think they were discussing it on Piers Morgan, and Piers Morgan basically said that that's not true, that the coroner's office actually like claimed that he died from I think he was I don't know if it was asphyxiation. I think it was like heart attack or something. Yeah, from related causes to the knee. Which, by the way, is not saying that he didn't have fentanyl in his system. He very well might have been, but like there's a lot of people out there who had a lot of sicknesses before COVID, and COVID came along and killed them. And like because you have one thing doesn't mean that the other thing doesn't count. Sometimes two things come together. Yes, but the point of people using the fentanyl as the reason of George Floyd's death is to undermine the fact that the officer kneeled on his neck for 9 minutes. We're not talking about that. We're not talking about that. It's like saying white lives matter, right? It's a complete rerouting of the situation where it's like, can we just get back to what we're discussing here? Right. Well, fentanyl, whatever. The point is, George Floyd was underneath that guy's knee for 9 minutes, and there's a video of it. Yeah, there's an obvious race problem in America, right? Like, let's talk about this. But Kanye just, I don't want to attribute like malicious intents, but I don't see how this could be like anything other than that. I think he's really into the tribalism. By the way, on Lex Friedman podcast, he was like, we're part of a tribe. Like, he was talking about that. I don't know why Lex Friedman didn't really push back on that, being like, being part of a tribe is probably really dangerous for independent thinking. But like, that's the point. He is part of the tribe. He's part of the right now. And he's going to just say all those
those talking points.
It's very confusing because I think Kanye is very keenly aware of like the African American suffering and how his people maybe isn't held to the same standard as other races or cultures or things like that. And he says it all the time. He's like, I'm in pain. My people are in pain, and you should feel that pain too. And I think it's the wrong messaging, obviously. Like, I think that if you're trying to uplift your people instead of pointing your suffering to a different group of people, that's obviously a way better. That's how you heal. That's how you make the world a better place. Kanye, you have so much power and influence, and you don't even know the kind of power or good you could do if you're using your platform for good. Why are you sitting there and blaming the Jews for these things that like have absolute? He blamed the divorce of his wife on us. Like he blamed everything. What are you doing, man?
Like, clearly you have a lot of work to do. And what was another thing that was crazy was that when Andrew Schulz reacted to the whole Kanye thing, so his crowd, and I didn't know this, but apparently his crowd is very right wing. Andrew's like fans, because like
it makes sense.
he roasts the people. He doesn't like care about all these things. And then when he roasted Kanye, all his comments were like, "Big L for Andrew. We're so disappointed. We think like you're a sellout." Like, it's crazy. And like Andrew's reaction was priceless, where he's just like, "I don't care. Like, this is what I thought. I'm not going to back down on it."
Andrew, you're a real one.
No, it's just so crazy. Like, you could see, like, because we're talking so much about so many people who are like actual sellouts and like will literally just defend their party no matter what. And he's somebody who really, like him, Lex Fridman, Joe Rogan, I think part of that. Just people who are like, they're not so intense. I don't know. It's like you don't have to be like, your ideas and you are not one, and like just, I don't know, have some integrity, which I think he has. But
yeah, it's
crazy that like
it's not bowing down to the people who support you or agree with you or your echo chamber, like you said in the beginning. It's hella tough. I don't even know if that's something I would be able to do. And I question that all the time. Like, if I had a humongous crowd of support, and not only that, they were the ones who were paying me. You know what I mean? My job was.
I mean, he's still doing fine. He has. I think also a lot of people who are commenting are not necessarily the majority of his listeners.
I don't know. All I'm saying is that if that were the case, there's a lot to obviously risk. But like the honesty and your integrity and like actually calling out the problems when there's a problem it's a hard thing to do. It's a hard thing to do, and it's against human nature. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, it's completely against human nature to go against what you said or to admit that you're wrong. That's why we have such a hard time doing it. To let go of your ego, that is literally against human nature. But people are also, I also believe that people should be smart enough to go against it and know. And when you meet people, when you meet people who are like that, it's like super refreshing. And like, I think that should be the standard of people. Like, it's against our nature to do that, but it's still something that we can work on. And that's something that people should work on. And people shouldn't claim that they're smart and they're intelligent. And they, you know, like Ben Shapiro does, like puts this whole persona that he's like the smartest person when you can't even have that integrity. Yeah.
Then, I don't care what statistics you know.
I agree. I think that the way you approach things is everything. Your mission in life, or why you're doing something, the why has to be something that's guiding you all the time. And I think that you can recognize the different whys of people. And I think you can recognize the why Ben Shapiro is doing something, and you can recognize why a Rudy Israel is doing what he's doing, whether or not they're doing it on missions of unity, of love, of compassion, of trying to heal the world. And I think that you can also tell
you think Rudy's coming from compassion?
I do. And I think you can also tell the why of someone like Kanye, who's obviously doing these things because he himself was hurt and he is in pain and he has a lot of suffering that he's working through. And I think that if you are in the public sphere, if you're putting yourself in the public sphere, then you better know why you're there. And you better be doing it, in my opinion, from a place of trying to understand and heal and connect. And if you're doing that, then I think you're obviously going to run into issues because you're human. But if that understanding is there, then I think you're on the right road, at least.
Yeah, I think we agree on that. Do you know if Joe Rogan said anything on it? Spoke on it?
I didn't see anything.
Yeah, me neither.
Maybe I haven't looked, but maybe he did.
He usually talks about things like a little later on than they happen,
which is also like a leniency that we give him. which we should acknowledge. But like I was not
that he didn't talk about it. But
yeah,
I guess,
I mean, he should. He's a public figure, and he should condemn. I'm not as upset at him as I am at Ben Shapiro.
Of course not. Because Ben Shapiro, he has a standard that he puts for himself that it's clearly coming from a place where he completely lost integrity. So I think that's where the difference is.
But I also think that like when I was talking about the why and all that, the reason why I've kind of, taken a break from Ben Shapiro and his content is and the Daily Wire in general is because I don't agree with their why. I think that the kind of messages that they promulgate are from division and from reactionary kind of positions. Yeah. And I don't think that's healing. I don't think that's helping anything in the world.
I think he used to be way better when it was just like him, and he became less like now he's just. It used to be actually interesting to listen to his points. He had good points, and I think he was like more compassionate. Now he's just like completely.
No, listen, I think Ben Shapiro does a lot of amazing things, and I think he's stood up in a lot of ways. I think he makes incredible points for some of the values that he has. I think because he's not. I agree with a lot of his like politics in sense of like community and how he thinks that the government shouldn't be the end all be all. I don't know. I think that he makes a lot of good points. He's not the only one saying that. Like, it's not like he came up with that. Okay, he believes that, but like, I don't want to turn this into like a hate against Ben Shapiro, but at the same time,
I despise him. So
I don't despise Ben. I wish,
but like Candance Owen is even more annoying.
At the beginning of this podcast, I was like, Rivka, I'm not gonna.
She's even more annoying than
stuff like that.
I wanted to say this at least because I think this is funny. She's even more annoying than Umbridge from Harry Potter.
I don't think anyone could be any more annoying than Professor Umbridge. I think she's like I hate her more than Voldemort. Professor Umbridge, not Candance Owens. Just make that clear.
Voldemort, Umbridge,
no,
Candance Owens.
I would rather kill Professor Umbridge than Voldemort.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. Voldemort, Umbridge, Candance Owens.
Oh, damn.
Yeah,
that's heavy. I don't agree.
I was trying to not be controversial here.
I'm not trying to be controversial, but I'm not trying to do the same things that I think Kanye and people reactionaries. And I want you to say whatever you want to say. I think
you have to understand the difference though between like someone seriously saying, "Oh, Candance Owens is worse than evil character," than me just like joking around,
Joke all you would like, yes.
Like, at the same time, how annoying she is.
This is like the difference of me and Rivka. We just have the different views on things, but I think that Candance Owens' comments were definitely problematic. And you think she's a problematic person?
Oh my god, yeah. From the moment she was on Daily Wire, I've never liked her. Never ever was I like, damn, she's inspirational. Has good points. It was always like, whoa, can you chill out? Why are you yelling on top of your lungs at people? Like, just have like a normal civilized discussion. Like, why is it so crazy? Like, I don't know. She's a lot. So yeah, is there anything else that you wanted to talk about on this topic? Can we do the game of he's 10 but
you have some suggestions?
Yeah, I can search up the
so there's this game on TikTok where people go, he's a 10 on the scale of attractiveness, but there's something about him. So what does that make him on the 1 to 10 scale of attractiveness?
Yeah.
So now we're going into
he's a 5 but he cooks.
So now we're gonna start this segment. He's a 5 but he cooks. To be completely honest, I don't know if that is so attractive. Like to me,
right?
What about you?
Yeah, it would just stay like maybe a 6, maybe 1 point up.
Yeah, I mean it's impressive.
He's 5, but he's ultra rich. This is what it says on here.
Is that what you wrote though?
No, no. I searched it up.
He's a 5, but he's ultra rich. Yeah, then you're like,
he's a 4, but yeah,
dude, you're a lot more attractive. Yeah, if you built your own wealth,
even if you didn't.
Really? Okay, that's a difference. If it's like his dad's money,
but he has it, like he can provide for you.
No, because that comes with a package of like.
You're telling me
he might not be so what's the word?
Ambitious, right? I see that.
And then that's unattractive. But if he made his own money, yeah, you're solid. Like
you're solid, like 9.5.
Yeah, so it goes up so much.
He's a 10, but expects you to do everything.
He's a 10, but expects you to do
everything. Yeah, like 2? I don't. No, literally, what guys don't understand about girls sometimes, and I think it's different, is that if a guy is like a complete asshole, but he's so good looking, you literally go to a 1. Like if you're a 10, but you're a disgusting person, you go down to a 1. Unless like, I don't know. That's what I think.
Unless you're like a girl who
just cares about that. Whatever. But like most of the time, a solid girl is looking for a solid guy. And if you're,
I mean, I think guys probably feel the same way. Like if you're a gorgeous girl and have like a really bad qualities, then you're just probably eventually.
We had this discussion before for sure on this podcast. I think 1,000% guys are blinded by that way more.
Okay.
Like guys always talk about on their own. Well, a hot girl's a hot girl. Like, what you gonna do? Hot girl's a hot girl. She's annoying.
I mean, in terms of like them just wanting to be with that girl and like in the setting, I think, but not to actually like be with them, which is what I think we're like talking about.
I guess, yeah. He's a 4 but plays piano.
10.
2.
10. No,
really?
Oh my god. Yes.
Yeah, it doesn't really change it for me or anything. He's a 10 but bites his fingernails.
So you're still a 10.
You're still a 10, bro.
I'm not going to point
to the biting your fingernails.
Yeah,
by the way, we
fingernails to the point of non-existence.
We literally both like bite our fingernails like crazy.
Yeah.
He's 5 but very loyal. It's like a 7, 8.
For you, I feel like that's important.
Oh yeah, I forgot.
As a 6.
I forgot.
I mean, like, it's important, but like, I don't think that makes you any, like, that raises points. I think you should be loyal regardless of how attractive you are. Like, do you know what I mean?
Right. No, for sure.
Like, if you're cheating,
no, obviously.
What does that even mean?
But like, maybe loyal, like, maybe he's more loyal to his mom than you. Maybe he's like takes your mom's side over you.
Maybe he's more loyal to his like friends.
Yeah.
That's a problem.
So I don't know.
But like, okay.
He's a 5 but has blue eyes, literally a 9. It goes up.
I'm not preferential. Like, and you can have any color eyes.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
he's a 10 but follows loads of girls on social media. 2. Oh my god, he's in
ew. Don't even come near me, you slob.
Oh wait, this is funny. He's a 9 but he walks goofy.
Oh man, that's such a good one.
Me and Chaya actually make fun of people's walks all the time.
Wait, like that actually might change it. Just because I don't want to use this word like, you know when people say it's an ick.
No, it's.
But if you're gonna walk like Velma from Scooby Doo, like I might have a problem.
Like you have
with
like
that.
a rash, like the.
It looks like you have a rash in a place you shouldn't have a rash. Like it might make my mind just go places. I don't think you're less attractive, but like it's definitely something.
You're
it's
saying
something.
that
it's something.
Attractive.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know. I feel need to like lower someone's attractiveness.
He's a 10 but a fitness maniac. But still a 10.
Yeah. As long as it doesn't come with like the other stereotypes of a fitness maniac, like usually somebody who's like just obsessed with being a fitness maniac.
Well, that's what I'm talking about.
Oh, if he's just obsessed as a
like
maniac?
he's obsessed. He's a fitness maniac.
What I'm saying, if it's just solely that, like if his just entire personality is that, then I would probably not see them as a 10.
That's what gym bros are.
Right. Like if he's just a gym bro.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. So yeah.
He's a 6 but makes time to be with you. Come on.
That's
crazy. That's like a standard. Like, he makes time to be. What?
He's a 6 but he likes me.
Yeah. He's a 6 but, compliments you now and then.
Yeah.
He's a 4
he says
but
your
punctual.
Name. He's a 10 but he says your name.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
damn.
Damn.
4.
He's like 100.
Don't say my name. What was this? What this was one funny. What did he say? Oh, he's a 4 but punctual. Like it's supposed to like up him up. That literally makes no difference. If you're a 4 but you're punctual,
you just can't be like
I've
so
never
late
said
to
like,
things.
oh, that guy's like so ugly, but he's punctual.
That's so. Oh, like, oh damn, he's hard to look at. But
like when I say 8 o'clock coffee, he's there at 8 o'clock.
That's it. Marry him.
He's a 9 but has a bad sense of fashion. I feel like it's every guy.
I don't really think. I mean, if it's awful, if you're like awful, I'm like trying to like find a way out of these.
But it's funny, like people turn like bad fashion into art.
If he's a 9, that bad fashion isn't bad fashion. If he's a 9, that bad fashion is fashionable because he's so attractive that whatever he wears is probably so good.
Is that it? Is that it?
Oh, hell yeah. It's the attractive people make bad clothing look good. That's why models wear garbage bags and you're like, I want to wear a garbage bag. That's the model.
That's mind-boggling.
So he's a...
That's what people make fashion out of. Like if you're a good-looking person, you can influence fashion.
Yes.
So true.
Yeah, so
Like,
he's
I always try to wear.
He's probably a 10 because people are like, oh my God, look at it. Look at his outfits. They're bomb.
Outfits. You said outfits.
Look at those outfits. They're so, like, you know what I mean?
Dumb, bruh. No, like literally,
What are you
the amount
wearing?
of times I try to like recreate like Emma Chamberlain's like
Yeah.
style.
Yeah.
Nah, bro, it's not looking good on me. Like, you know.
Gosh.
But if he's a 5 but has good fashion.
So I'm not obsessed with clothing. So I don't think
like
this
he's
really
gay.
hires your...
No.
No,
Into fashion.
not necessarily.
Okay.
Maybe he's
Never
wearing
mind.
like really nice male, like,
Right.
like
Designer.
just like prototype typical masculine clothes. You know, it's not necessarily like gay, but I mean, gay guys could also wear masculine clothes. I don't know.
Right,
That's
no.
weird.
No,
Yeah,
it was a joke. It
anyways,
was a joke.
Yeah.
Anything that I say is gonna be like problematic. It was a joke. It was a joke.
Yeah, seriously. Don't take anything Rivka says seriously.
He's a 7 but replies every few days, or like doesn't reply often. That puts him higher. That puts him higher.
No, I don't play that game. Like, no, the thing is, like, if you're busy
Start like
and
a
you can't
ballad.
text back right away, that's totally normal.
But if he's playing hard to get,
no, if he's playing the game, don't play that game. That's manipulation. That's not being honest.
but it gets to you, no?
yes, but not in a good way.
Oh, really?
What?
I
You
feel
don't
like
wanna
it-
be
like it
with
works-
somebody who's so intentional that they're not texting you back because they want you to think about them and want you to be nervous. It's not good associations
I
you have with somebody who
That's
doesn't
true.
text you
It's
back
true.
right
No, I
away.
agree. I agree.
Okay.
No, I
Go
totally agree. It works probably for the beginning when someone plays hard to get.
What does that mean
burns
for the
out so
future?
quickly.
What does
Yeah,
that mean
yeah,
for
yeah.
the future of somebody who's willing to do that?
Yeah.
I mean, you know, listen, I'm not so extreme. Like, if you're going to do that like once in a while, it's fine. Like, sometimes
Yeah.
you want to do that, but like, no.
Okay,
Not
this could
that
be our last
effective.
one, but like this one is just like he's a 4 but has nice hair. Hair is like so important. Like,
Yeah,
he bumps up
I
to
still
7,
think
I
you're a
think.
4.
Really?
If you have nice hair.
I don't know. What
Okay, fine. You get, yeah, no, you're like a 10 actually.
Whoa.
No, you're a 10 with nice hair.
He's a 9 but drives
Can
recklessly.
I choose some? Because I feel like you're choosing ones that I wouldn't necessarily would ask.
I don't know what you just said. I wouldn't know.
But yeah, you get me. He's a 1, but he's fit. That's actually a good one.
How is he a 1 then if he's fit? I don't understand
By the
what
way,
that means.
so true. If you're fit, then you're automatically like at least like a 5,
yeah.
right? So he's a 5, but he's fit. Like, no, but he's like gorgeous fit.
I'm yeah. I don't
It's so
care.
funny how many girls are like,
I don't
want
need
dad
crazy
bods.
muscles. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, no, he has the ideal body type that you like.
Oh. What do you mean? Then obviously he's way higher.
No, because not his face.
Oh, his body, but not his face.
Yes.
Yeah, I guess he bumps up to like a 6.
Oh my God.
Sorry.
He's a 4, but he pays attention to you. Dude,
That's
who
it,
wrote this
bro.
list? Who wrote?
Somebody is
said-
broken. That's what I'm saying.
He's a 9, but he vapes. No,
Yeah,
it's so
No,
unattractive.
It's so trashy. Yeah.
Smoking cigarette is something else. Actually, vaping. I have a thing against vaping.
There's something about vaping. Yeah.
It's so gross, and people blow it in your face. Okay.
Okay, I think we should end this. We've been going on for hours.
Okay, last one. He's a 10, but he has no job.
Dude, like a 1.
You're a 1.
I don't know
Not
if
a
you're a
1.
1.
Yeah. Whoa, that was harsh.
Whoa.
If
We
you're
could train you to get a
trying,
job.
if you're trying, that's different.
No,
If you're like not ambitious at
obviously.
all, you're actually. I have no interest.
Yeah, like if he literally is like, I'm just playing video games, bro.
and doing my shit.
Yeah, like then you're a 2.
Then you're like
Maybe
not
3.
gonna get me.
Because if you're actually a 10, like that's a high number. So like maybe you're a 4. Point is, I wouldn't go out with you.
Point is, thank you so much for listening to this podcast. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you found some of the things we said helpful,
Interesting, insightful,
important,
interesting,
highlighting things,
incremental,
encouraging.
Oh, good one.
Thank you.
Bye,
Bye.
bitch.